Hello and welcome to Aging Matters. This is a program that is sponsored by the Berks County Area Agency on Aging. And my name is Ann Barlet and I'm the host for the show. We have two guests with me this evening. To my immediate left is Lisa Quinby, and to her left, or my far left, is Carol Robertson. And Lisa is project director and Carol is employment and outreach specialist, and both are with the AARP Foundation Senior Community Service Employment Program. I got it. I'd fit that on a business card. And so welcome, Lisa and Carol. Appreciate you being here tonight. I think it's going to be a fantastic show because I think it's a very interesting program. Yes. And I think it's something that folks in our community may not know about. So I'm happy to have you, and let's share some information. And if you don't mind, I can call it Senior Community Service Employment Program and just shorten it a tad.
We actually call it CSEP.
Okay.
Whichever's easier.
All righty, I don't know. Senior employment fine. Might be what
Senior
I can say.
Senior employment's good.
Let's start with, where did it begin? What's the background, the history? How does AARP have, the foundation have this?
Mm-hmm. Well, the Department of Labor started this program back in 1968. It's a Title V program, so under the Older Americans Act. It was funded, and originally it was so people could earn a little extra money and that the nonprofits could get an extra set of hands. It morphed into more of a training program probably in the later 70s, and from there it's just gotten there are a lot more rules that apply. So for instance, our folks have to be applying for jobs. It's a paid training program funded by the Department of Labor. And AARP just got involved in 1968. They, as a group that's seriously involved with advocacy, they decided that this was a wonderful way to help people 55 and older.
So it's a foundation. There's funding, renewable amounts. How does that work?
Good question. It is, it's a grant. And it is renewed about every 3 years. We have to bid for the dollars again. And because AARP has two components, AARP and AARP Foundation, we're housed in the foundation side since that's the nonprofit side. Okay. The majority of the dollars spent for this program come directly from the Department of Labor. But AARP does support in some other ways as well. And they have wonderful research, and they've got a really great website that we put our folks on to help them get a lot of the training. Makes it kind of easy. What to do with some resumes and how many years of experience you should put down, as opposed to saying, well, I have 40 years of experience. People might guess that you're not 25. Yes. So we share a benefit of having, of being part of AARP, and yet it truly is grants. It's our tax dollars at work. And we take that very seriously.
Well, and it certainly sounds like there was an identified need in general that these two areas, the labor and older adults, older Americans, you know, how they could benefit the two and putting them together. I mean, they do it very small scale every summer, in particular with the Department of Agriculture and older adults, and meshing that for the Farmers Market Nutrition Program voucher checks. You know, it's again a very limited program, but again, trying to connect the two areas, helping farmers and older adults to be able to buy good produce and to be able to sell. And so it sounds like it's very working together and meeting a need, and hopefully we can get some more folks that may be interested in participating. So let's talk right away about the eligibility for somebody to participate in your program. And I think even part of that, probably to clarify at some point here, we say, you know, Community Service Employment Program. So I'm not sure if it's where the wording is right, or maybe it's just a clarification of the wording.
I think the wording has stayed the same, but I think the intention has changed.
Okay.
So instead of being strictly a volunteer type of program. Years ago, until 2007 or 2008, people could stay in the program forever, and now there's a 48-month lifetime cap on this.
Oh, wow.
And even if you move to another state, it's all tracked
So
on the national
you
level.
could potentially have 2 years here and
2 years
2
in
years somewhere
Oregon,
else,
yeah.
but that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about the eligibility. Who can participate?
Well, first of all, you have to be 55 or older.
Okay.
You have to be a resident of Berks County. We also have one in Lancaster County, so one of those two counties. You have to be currently not working, because this is a training program to help people get back into the economy, so to speak. And you have to be income eligible, and that is determined at the time of signing up.
And is that variable, or is it a percentage of poverty level? Is it,
It's
or is it too complicated of a system to base calculations on?
it's 125% of the poverty level. However, that can be misleading, because there are some incomes, there are some sources of income that are countable in this formula and some that aren't.
Okay.
So, for instance, Social Security, we count 75% of it.
Okay.
We do count, if there's a spouse, we have to count the spouse's income.
Okay.
But Social Security disability is not included, unemployment, workers' comp not included. So it's really the best advice I can give is come see us.
Talk about it.
Let us see if we can qualify you.
Okay.
And it's an interesting formula, because we start with 6 months. And if the person doesn't qualify there, or does qualify there, sometimes we still have to go back a whole year. But the formula works to make sure that most people get into the program.
Okay. Good.
Right.
Good. And I want to say something. I have another question to that. Carol, you mentioned about Berks, and then you were mentioning about location in Lancaster.
Yes, ma'am.
So is it, if I live in Berks, though, I see, go to the Berks office, and if I'm in Lancaster, I live in Lancaster, I go to the Lancaster
Correct.
office. It's not.
No, we don't.
It's
go
not
back
like
to
I reside in Berks, but you may put me somewhere in Lancaster County, or vice versa.
No, yes.
All righty. So I guess my next question, but maybe you've answered it, but please elaborate, is my concern was, are these folks, because we say employment, are they employees of a company? You're not an employment agency, so you're not hiring somebody and placing them somewhere. This is, you mentioned it's a training program, so tell me about that piece. How do I...
We actually are sort of the people that are taking the dollars, the grant money, and passing it along. So they're not actually an employee of AARP,
right.
but we pay them. We're the ones that make sure that the grant dollars are paid to them.
Appropriately.
Spent appropriately, paid every 2 weeks.
So they
Yep.
get the paycheck then from what would be the AARP Foundation?
It says
piece?
AARP Foundation, yeah.
Yes, and they get up to 18 hours a week, and we put them at a nonprofit or government agency like the post office or the courthouse, someplace like that, and they learn that job, and then every so often we move them so they can learn another skill or another aspect of a job.
So, are you simultaneously then training them while they're somewhere that you've set up? So you're also looking at associated companies who are willing to participate in having this individual be with them and learn some skills and...
Those would be the nonprofits. So we're able to use nonprofits for that, and they're always thrilled to have an extra person.
Absolutely.
But in terms of employment, it could be either a nonprofit or a profit-making organization. It's whoever would like to hire that individual and whoever has a job that that person is qualified for and interested in. And Carol works with a lot of folks, putting them into different trainings to help them. So it sounds like we send somebody to a nonprofit and they're there.
No.
But they get invited into the office quite often to be assisted to get a job, because a lot of people haven't worked in years.
Right.
Or they're trying to switch careers, and a lot of our people do not have computer training. That's probably the largest
Okay.
Yeah.
issue. But Carol can tell you about all the different training programs she brings people
Alrighty.
into.
Yeah,
Yes,
that'd be great.
we're very blessed that we have many training programs. We have things, of course, that are duplicated in other places, but I think we have more on a one-on-one situation, how to search for a job, how to get past the gatekeeper, which in a lot of cases, mine included, you've been out of work for 5 years. You didn't remember that. Computer classes, we've been very blessed. Salvation Army has let us use their computer lab. And we have 2 people on hand, really, but one that does it right now, teaches our computer classes. And we have students, he runs about a 6-week program. And he starts in basics. This is how you turn the computer on.
And it's okay if you hit the wrong button.
Yes, yes.
It won't slow it up.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that's one of Lisa's mottos. There's nothing you can do that we can't undo.
Okay.
We give them interview skills,
okay.
job club budgeting, things like that that people don't think about. But, budgeting what little money you have coming in is very important. And I think it makes a lot of difference. And one of the things that we kind of pride ourselves on is teaching the 30-second commercial. And that's for anybody out there that knows what it is. It's an elevator speech. But it really is an effective way, because you never know. I had a friend who had that situation. She was caught in an elevator, and she gave the guy her speech, and he hired her. So...
And she just went, oh, wow. So let me ask then, so you have all of these different opportunities for somebody to kind of, as you said, either change, come back into something that they've been out a while, realizing, hey, I could benefit from this, I want to do this. So they're going to ask, is the 18 hours part of that training piece? So can I sit at that computer for that class for, say, 2 hours, over, I don't know if you have it for over a couple of weeks, and still be at a location for the other, let's say, 16 hours?
It changes based upon where we are in the budget, but right now, I pretty much allow up to 4 extra hours on top of the 18.
Oh, okay.
So they are getting a little bit of extra.
Okay.
They really are.
Because, I'm sure they're like, but I want to get, learning this job, and yet I need to know this. So you're trying to balance the 2 pieces of learning some new things.
Yeah.
And then maybe trying those new things
Your
as they're,
training, yes.
placed or, with a nonprofit. So, and then in some cases, so you have that 4-year limit. So if I'm working at this nonprofit, you also said, I believe, that you like to kind of move them then to a different placement. Is that right?
Yeah, they can gain extra skills, they can gain extra references, and if somebody hasn't been working for a long time, they're going to need more than one person to use as a reference. They can always use AARP, but it's kind of nice to be able to use that place that you've been working and making a difference in. And we, I don't know if I've really stressed this, we use an individualized employment plan with everybody. We start right from the start, and then we follow up 30 days, and then it's every 6 months. But we kind of meet people where they are. So if somebody is homeless, and we've had homeless people, we're going to work on getting them housing. And if they need food, we're going to start there. Then the basics, like a resume. We do leverage a lot of the community resources, so we would send them first a career link. And Carol, you've actually got a list of all the different places that we
Yes.
You've
leverage.
partnered with,
Well, as I said, the Salvation Army, so we partner with them. Encore, BCAP for budgeting classes, Veterans Group, veterans representing, or veterans helping veterans. It's a new program too. And the re-entry program, so we've had some folks that have been in incarcerated and then come out, they'll be able to get benefits. We have food, pantries, clothing pantries, many different areas. We teach English as a second language, GEDs. We do have people in the office who are Spanish speaking, so we are very blessed on that. We go through the Literacy Council. We give grants. We can help point you to grants, let me put it that way. Soft skills, which a lot of people forget about. Interviewing. There's just so many things that we do.
So I think it's unique in that it really is, as you said, IEP, an individualized
Employment
plan, yeah, so that you're actually sitting with them from
Yeah.
that beginning to be able to figure out what it is and kind of first things first. So if some of those things that you mentioned, the partnerships that they need help with,
Right.
whether it's a place to stay, live, whether it's needing the money, but I also right now need food.
Right.
And so connecting those kinds of things while hopefully helping them for the long run for some other
And
things.
so much of it is fear, because if somebody hasn't used a computer, they're really uncomfortable. And going to an interview, if you've worked for one company for 30 years,
Exactly.
interviewing is very, very stressful. So we practice. We tape people. We also are very direct and hold people accountable, and would say we're kind, but we're very direct. So, for instance, I have a great story. One of the folks came into the office, and a different employment specialist was talking to him, and he said, "My toe's turning black," and she said, "What?" And I mean, this man had a lot of issues, had a lot of sick time, and she said, "You're going to the hospital." And then she got somebody else to drive this man to the hospital. And he had surgery. He had been putting it off for 10 years because they had told him he could die on the operating table.
Yes.
And then, like about a week later, 2 weeks later, these guys come back to me, I think it was Carol, and she said, "Oh, he's getting a job in construction." I said, "He can't do construction." She said, "Wait till you see him." This man's whole life was turned around.
Yes.
He was healthy, happy. I mean, he had been rather grouchy because he felt bad all
Yeah,
the
exactly.
time.
Sure, I'm sure he had a lot of pain
And he got a job, and he is still working.
Wonderful.
Thanks to
Yep.
everybody in the office. But
Good.
being honest and helping people and finding them an employer in the community that would like to have them. We have some national partners we work with, like Allied Barton, the security.
Well, I would think also, as you said, being tough, they also have to make that commitment.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're offering these special training programs and things and sitting with them to do that plan. That's the expectation, though, that they want to participate, and it's all part of moving forward to get them that and in their lives. So therefore, if they're not employees of those companies in their place, so what kind of, are there any, in addition to the training programs, the benefits to me sound very much personal.
Yes.
In that they're gaining people who are caring specifically about them, their success, and then the overall health and well-being of that individual, and then those goals for that.
Self-esteem. Most
Yes,
people,
absolutely.
once they start going to a nonprofit, it's the whole thing that we're sort of maybe defined by our jobs. Our jobs are very
Yes,
important to us.
exactly.
We feel like we're
Yes.
doing something good every day when we're going someplace, and changes people's lives just by going to that nonprofit. It gets them ready to go into a real job. We call it a real job. Unsubsidized employment. I call it a real job. And then their self-confidence is much higher, and they're much more likely to keep the job at that point.
So then I want to talk about job placement. So if they can move to a couple of places, or they've got their skills and the training programs and working maybe at different nonprofits, so the potential for real job placement or it for that company or another company, kind of, do you have any successes in terms of percent successes? Are they're doing it in themselves? Are there agreements? Tell me how that works.
Well, I can serve about 94 people, and typically 50 to 55 people between Lancaster and Reading get jobs every year. This year, we're ahead of the goal. If we could just keep
Okay,
up with
keep
it, I
it
think
up.
part of that's the economy.
Yes, okay.
So I guess we're,
Terrific.
yeah.
Terrific, wonderful. And last then, I think also as part of this, are there, since it's a plan, are there, who monitors them when those folks are at that nonprofit?
All right. First of all, they must be supervised. That is one
Okay.
of the stipulations. So we have stipulations and things both through AARP and the Department of Labor that we must
Okay,
keep track of.
okay,
And safety is one of the things that we do. We go out when we talk to the agency, we tour the entire facility, make any suggestions about what we feel might not be the safest or something like that. Very often we don't have any suggestions, but we go to them and then they pass a safety before they even come into the program.
okay. And then there's you have a contact then between your office and that nonprofit or that company, so that should there be an issue or should there be a problem or how are they doing, the update on how well they're doing, you're connecting with those folks, and how often are you reviewing that progress with the individual?
Well, we do every 6 months an individual employment plan, and that doesn't. But that people call all the time. We call them. How you doing?
Okay.
We keep track of people who have left us. We have a gentleman who just got a job. I was at a job fair yesterday or day before yesterday, and his boss was there, and his boss was praising him, how wonderful he is, how motivated, how efficient he is, and it was so nice to hear because this, like the other gentleman with the hospital, his demeanor changed
Sure.
totally.
Sure,
Happier
of course,
person.
sure. So at least there's a connection. So how, with the 2 minutes that we have left in the show, somebody who has heard us this evening and is really interested in at least learning more, maybe we couldn't cover everything here, but learning more, talking to you, how do they reach you, and is there, do they fill out an application? How do they do that? So if you can tell us.
The best thing to do is give us a call at 610-375-2576 or visit us at 400 Washington Street. It's the old Madison building. We're on the 6th floor.
Oh, okay.
We're open from 8 to 4 Monday through Friday. They can also email me, and it would be LQUIN as in Nancy, B as in Bob, Y at aarp.org.
Okay.
And we'd love to have them give us a call or stop by.
Should they bring something with them?
No, they
Any
should.
kind of records or anything?
If they call, what we will do is go over a questionnaire with them, and then we'll invite them to an information session, and we'll let them know what
Okay.
to bring along so we can get them in.
Alrighty. And in 30 seconds, is there one last thing that you want to just say about the program?
We'd like to invite everybody 55 and older. Come on in.
And if you don't have a 30-second commercial,
You'll help us get one.
we'll write it for you.
Okay, super. Well, that's great. I appreciate your time and sharing the information about the AARP Foundation Senior Community Service Employment Program. Thanks for tuning in to Aging Matters.